Good morning. It was one of those nights yesterday, as epitomised by this result here. Old Perry Como. But thankfully, I wasn't tempted in at 1-2, although that in itself would make a compelling argument that it's not a deserved lead. And all things being equal, Atalanta can get back into this. There are a couple of issues, I think, from the manager of Atalanta. You can tell by the number of substitutes second half that he thought this was going to be an easy encounter against a newly promoted side. So he could field a slightly weakened side, probably because he's had European football as well. But done. Simple as that. Bit late for me as well, I'm afraid. That's a 1:45 a.m. So thankfully, fatigue stopped me from getting involved at 1-2. I did get involved at 1-3. Low liability, cost about £6-7 to find out whether Atalanta were up for it. They did score that second goal, but it not nowhere near enough time. And that probably epitomised Atalanta yesterday, the goal, a penalty. Como will take great heart from this. Atalanta will be extremely concerned. I'm not sure whether this was down to too much European football, perhaps, from Atalanta, or, as is the case you saw with Ulm and Regensburg and Preußen Munster at the weekend, these newly promoted sides can pull off the odd shock because they're an unknown factor. You look at Dender in the Belgian league, so there is always an exception to the rule. This would have been a losing trade had I got involved at 1-2 with the red card. I'm just checking to see whether Atalanta were in Europe, and you can tell there this may have been an impact. This certainly may have been an impact as well. Some sides, post and pre-European club competition, can struggle. This might be the case with Atalanta this season. A hard-fought win against Fiorentina and a 0-0 against Arsenal, and then another hard-fought, both teams to score match on either side of the Champions League. Como will be absolutely delighted, of course. Sevilla against Valladolid. Well, I was conflicted here. This is the problem with last night. The in-play stats didn't provide me with any ammunition or vote of confidence on the likes of Sevilla to end the draw second half. The red card came after the goal, so that's not really going to impact upon performance. I'm not sure I would have laid the very, very late draw. Sevilla are not renowned for the goal scoring potential, but again, if you do lay late on, it's very, very low liability. Good performance, or rather, this is a reminder to you that Valladolid are gettable this season. If a side as poor as Sevilla are beating them easily, you get the idea. Valencia and Osasuna, no play there. Real Madrid, well, it was done and dusted by half-time. Kylian Mbappe scoring again. He didn't score a second-half goal, Kylian Mbappe. A late response from Alaves. I think Real Madrid taking their eye off the ball, nearly getting done. But this nearly went the way of 1.17. We normally expect 3-0, 3-1, any other home score. We don't expect 2 goals to be conceded for 1.17 shots. And I'll take you through the 2.5 goals as well. In the Polish Cup, there was actually a play, but I wasn't confident enough in passing it on to you. It was Witsał Lotz. Goal down to Elana Torum. In-play stats were excellent, 1.22, and they ended up with a 1-3 win. Similar story with Wisla Plock, but on this case, you'd have seen the value of insurance there. That's why I keep harping on about insurance. It saves you in positions like this where you've got a strong favourite who's just under par, or it's in a competition you don't necessarily want. So let's move over to the over 2.5 goal meanderings. Just some ideas early on. Blackpool and Huddersfield. How did that end up? 0-2. It's all dependent on whether these 2 goals or when these 2 goals were scored. And the fact they were scored first half, and you could have got involved having delayed. As I keep repeating, if you can get 20 minutes out of the market, you've got a really good chance at the overs doubling. Now, that's something we'll get to with Aston Villa as well. a bit later. So that would have been a successful over 2.5 goal play, despite it not being over 2.5 goals. 2 goals before half time. That's 2/3 of the way there. The market thinks there's another half to go. We've got an odds-on favourite at home yet to score. This looks like overs is in the bag. You've got a very, very good odds swing. You'd have to get out at half time. Simple as that. So on that regard, got there, but Huddersfield didn't land a blow. Leyton Orient and Peterborough, well, that was overs. And how? Now, the important thing is you have to make a decision. Do I back over 2.5 goals pre-match? Or, again, do I try to get some time out of the market? Can you imagine what it would have looked like? 15 minutes over 2.5 goals. I know it's, I'm talking absolute ideals here, 15, 20 minutes. But I suspect if you'd have waited 20 minutes, you might be a little frustrated with the goal having spoilt your fun. So, step one, try to get 15 minutes out of the first half if you're backing over 2.5 goals. That way you're getting enhanced odds. Look at that, over by half time. So 2 out of 2 so far. Wigan and Stevenage. Over 2.5 goals, both teams to score. Let's have a look at that one. Wigan and Stevenage, well, 0-0. Now this is one of those matches. How do we play this? How do we play this? Do bear in mind 2.6 fee, the favourite, might be another factor for your over 2.5 goal plays because that suggests it could be anything. The market can't split these two sides. So it's a difficult one. It would have been a losing over 2.5 goal play, but when do we get out and for what loss? That's the important question we have to answer. How long are you going to give it for a goal to be scored? Now, there's another way you can get involved. Potentially over 1.5 goals at the beginning of the second half. You get near evens for that, and I'll show you in a sec. As you can see, I can't get into my virtual server, which is a pity because I experimented with Aston Villa yesterday, and I'll show you that when we get to the match. So we've got one going down, Wigan and Stevenage. How do we prepare for that? How do we get out? When do we take a loss? So those are questions we have to answer. Valencia and Osasuna, as you know, that ended 0-0 as well. So this is the research. It's not necessarily my opinion, because the research I give you comes from 2 separate sources. Over 2.5 goals. Osasuna's last 4 games and last 7 away matches have seen 3 or more goals. That's the only thing we've got to work with. Now, perhaps you want an over 2.5 goal element where both teams are working for you. Leyton Orient's last 9 games have seen both teams to score. Peterborough failed to keep a clean sheet. Leyton Orient failed to keep a clean sheet. Both teams working for you. Here, only the one team working for you. And Valencia Osasuna, just the Osasuna angle. Real Madrid Alaves. Correct score 3-0 Real Madrid, but it was 3-2. First half under 1.5 goals. Not quite there on this occasion. But again, did we get a delay out of this match or were they too efficient? Well, that answers that. 1 minute. 1 minute. Now, what you could do is get involved in over 2.5 goals. If it starts rising after that first minute, up to 1.8 to evens, then if we can get a goal before half time, off we go. Easy as you like. If you stay in for the 48th minute, overs would be in the bag. So this one, if you're operating, you're delaying, this would not have been profitable. Unless you find an angle between the first goal and the second goal to see what the over 2.5 goal and over 1.5 goal markets will be. Over 1.5 goal, highly likely to be very skinny indeed because you're half the way there, aren't you? Atalanta and Como. Well, this is my angle. Como are newly promoted and could be vulnerable to a goals avalanche. Now, when you're playing neutral, of course, you'll take a 1-3, won't you? Or a 2-3 for old Perry. So let's see when the first goal was scored and whether we got a delay out of this one. First goal scored 18th minute. So what are we saying? We're going to try to get 15 minutes out of the match. If you did, you'd have got on a few of these yesterday, just to get extra odds for the over 2.5 goals. You get a first half goal, off we go. This would be very unexpected, but it would also be very welcome as well, particularly that equaliser, which would infer from the over 2.5 goal market that goals are going to flow. So that came in, and the great thing, as I say, about playing the 2.5 goal market, you don't have to pick a winner. It's a neutral play. Neutral plays can be very good because you're not at the behest of a team, you're at the behest of both teams. First half goals, ideal for overs traders if we can get a goal before half time. Blackpool have netted in the opening half in all of the last 7 games. I don't think they did so yesterday, did they? Oh no, they did. Look at this, 31st and 45th minute. So fair dues to the stats there. Como conceded in the 10 minutes before half time in all 4 away matches. I think we had the goals before half time here, didn't we? Not quite the 30th minute, but again, if you've got the 15th minute in the bag, off we go. Leagues and competitions with reputations for goals. English Premier League 2, let's have a look at that. Premier League 2. It's here somewhere. That's probably not the best way to search for it. Okay. I'll just try to find it for you. We didn't have Premier League 2 yesterday. What we did have was the Premier League International Cup, and wouldn't you credit it? 4-4, 2-1, 2-1 and 2-2. So we've got 4 out of 4 over 2.5 goals there. Other leagues. Professional Development League. Let's have a look at how that got on yesterday. The Professional Development League. Here we go. 0-2, 2-1. That's overs, 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 and all dependent. And when these 2 goals were scored, yet again, if you've got yourself a 15-minute wait, you would have got on at over 2.5 goals at enhanced odds, and you'd be out. I hope you'd be out by half time. Don't forget, you're not looking for 3 goals. You're looking for the hint of 3 goals. That's the important element. So if you get an early goal and you're backed over 2.5 goal pre-match, it's beautiful because the market's thinking plenty of time for there to be a few more in that one. Overs, 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 overs. So I hate to labour the point. If it's liquid enough, give it a go. Pre-match odds as an indicator of over 2.5 goals. 3-2. 0-4. I don't think Lask are going to be here, are they? Lask Linz were involved in the Austrian Cup yesterday. I think it was a big haul. If I can find it. Probably not. There we go, the OBF Cup. So yet again, the relationship between short odds. 4-0, 6-0, 8-0, or 5-0, 7-0, 9-0. Now the question is, again, you've got that 15-minute break. For a 1.06, you saw this with Celtic. You could, if you wanted to, with a 1.06 go into the first half market. Back over 1.5 goals, if it's good odds, around evens, and then back over 2.5 goal, first half goals. At enhanced odds, could be 7-1. If you can get the evens in, the 2 goals, you've got a free bet, like we did with Celtic. You could sit back, wait for them to score that goal, which gets you the profit. So Lask Linz, job done. Chelsea and Barrow, well, what do you think? 5-0. Easy as you like, but 8 minutes, we would have had no real value. The only real value to be had, you either play with these particularly under 1.1 shots. You've seen them consistently score 2 goals at least before half time. So in that regard, you could get involved first half goals 2.5, first half goals 1.5 if you can get decent odds about the 1.5. And then you leave it. You leave it to the market. So we've had 3 out of 3 so far. We've had Celtic get 3 goals before half time at 1.05. We've got this 1.04 shot scoring 3 goals before half time. We had another one the other day as well, 1.06. getting the goals as well before half time. So it's a real pattern. It's all a matter of if you can get any value out of it. First half goals might be an option for anything under 1.1. First half goals, 2.5 goal market. Man City and Watford should have been like shelling peas. Oh, they're just down here. 2-1. So easy as you like. When did the goals arrive? Probably first half. 5th minute. So again, if you're operating using that delaying tactic, that wouldn't have been good news for you. 1.11 shot again. It's just on the cusp of it, the expectation for, drum roll, 2 goals before half time. So it's a consistent pattern that if we can see whether we can keep getting those 2 goals at least before half time in these very, very short priced favourite matches. Wycombe and Aston Villa. Well, this is a gentle reminder to you, although, is this extra time? We did get overs in the end. Amazing to get overs in the end there. But this is Aston Villa scoring 2 goals away from home yet again. I didn't have any faith in them yesterday, but I did experiment as the second half began. You could have backed over 1.5 goals. First half goals at about, it was hedging towards evens, 2.00, which for a side of this reputation against a lower tier side is huge. This single goal would have created a trading opportunity for you. Because if you think about it, with 1.5 goals trading, you're half the way there with just a single goal. Now, if that single goal can be scored before the 70th minute, it does give the market a hint that with 20 minutes to go, you might see that second goal. So you might get a trading profit out of it. This is my preferred method of using overs, the 1.5 goal market, because a single goal and you're half the way there, particularly with a side like Aston Villa away. So that's what I did yesterday, experimenting. I backed over 1.5 goals at evens. We got the goal from Villa, and it wasn't showing it. This was another problem with last night. The in-play stats weren't showing Aston Villa. They weren't showing the possibility of a Sevilla equaliser. Leicester and Walsall, again, this is the problem. I didn't pass on laying the draw second half. Which one of these, or both of these, can they come in? No. So I was very pleased. We haven't finished yet. First half goals, 2.5. Chelsea and Barrow. I think we got the 2 goals, didn't we? If they come early enough, we've got the 3 goals. There we go. So an excellent call there. Brilliant. You're going to get far better odds. First half goals, 2.5. You're probably going to get 4, 5, 6 to 1. Very decent indeed. Similar story with Celtic. We got 1.06 with a 1-2 at half time. So I was quite happy with those calls. 1 or 2 going astray, bearing in mind came from the research, Wigan and Stevenage, Valencia and Osasuna. So in cases like this, you must have an exit point. What are we going to do? A third of liability is loss as usual. So if your stake is, let's call it something divisible by 3. If your stake is £18, 1/8, then you get out if your cash out loss hits £6. What you're effectively doing is buying time for a goal to be scored. So I'll go through this element again today. I quite enjoyed this. So this will come a little bit later in the afternoon. Pretty much on the button, apart from Wigan and Valencia. And I hope it reinforces for you the attractiveness of a neutral play, particularly with shock results, which you still get paid out on. Pussycat agrees with me. Yeah. Looking on to today, and it's predominantly the Europa League. Now, the research I've done for you, but it's much of a muchness, I'm afraid. These are, you could almost argue, derby-style matches. Particularly, the market's telling us so as well. Look at Nice, 2.4, Midtjylland, 2.3, Slavia Prague, 2.1, 2.15 Lazio, 2.2 Anderlecht. It's a very non-committal market, apart from AZ Alkmaar here, the Dutch side against Elfsborg, who also in Sweden, they have goals for themselves. I think it's the Swedish side. Bodo Glimt and Porto. You'd be subtly favouring Porto, I think. The Norwegian Elite Serien should really be exposed this evening, even though it's Bodo Glimt, goal merchants, simple as that. Imponderable. I would be favouring surely the Serie A side over a Ukrainian outfit. These odds might look pretty good at the end of the night. This is almost a derby-style match. It's Turkey against Greece. Galatasaray have been in exceptional form, but PAOK are very, very good at defending. So watch out for some frustrations. Ludogorets, Slavia Prague, no opinion there. Man United and FC Twente. Well, this is a Den Haag meeting his Dutch friends. Man United's ability to buy quality is going to see them shine through this evening against Twente, who are going to be exposed yet again, or are going to expose the Dutch Eredivisie as being a very weak one. Take away Feyenoord, Ajax. That's about it, isn't it? Feyenoord and Ajax. PSV Eindhoven. And you're left with the rest of them are very poor opponents. Midtjylland and the Hof. Well, can we test out our first half goal strategy with the mighty Hof? Wait for 15 minutes. Okay, with the Hof. Either if you can get over 1.5 goals at 1.8 or higher, back that. The highest I've got for the Hof was 1.65, I think it was, or 1.55 in the first half, over 2.5 goal market, I think it was, over 1.5 goal market. And they got 3 goals before half time. So over 1.5 goals indeed at 1.55, an absolute gift in the context of Hoffenheim's first half goals. So watch out for first half goals here. That will probably go on my 2.5 goal list. Nice and Sociedad. Girona Rayo Vallecano. This could be simply a case of Rayo Vallecano, like Real Valladolid, being the kind of side you would expect to be taking 3 points from. Girona are nowhere near the quality that saw them top 3 last season. A good win against Osasuna, but conceding 8 goals either side, albeit one in a friendly, and a win against Granada. They could come to life. Rayo Vallecano, you see their problem. When they score 2 goals, the opponent scores 2 goals, and that was a 2022 head-to-head. So that doesn't really matter. Rayo Vallecano away from home. An interesting win against Real Sociedad. That was probably not expected by the market. If you can have a look down here, 1.75, indeed not. So they have the ability to shock, given the fact that Girona are 1.73 as well. So Rayo Vallecano do have that ability to shock. Watch out for that. Barcelona, banker of the night, quite simply. Nothing stopping this lot. Absolutely chock full of goals. Superb season. Exceptional season. So that'll be the banker bet of the day. Now here's a chance for you. 1.01. So get out your 0.5, 0.7, 0.9, or you might want to just upscale that to 0.7, 0.9, 0.11. That's what 1.01, virtually unbackable, suggests. So this would be a fascinating match at 3 o'clock to see if we can get any goals angles out of it. The only way is to delay. Or a case like this, back first half goals, 2.5, which you've seen keeps coming in at these odds, and over 6.5 goals from a trading perspective. So watch out for a bit of fun from that later on. Dinamo Zagreb at 1.01. 100 quid wins you a quid. That'll get you a Twix bar these days, won't it? The Czech Mold Cup will again give us an exercise in potentially matching odds with goals. Pardubice playing a lower tier side. It's all dependent if they're up for it. Bohemians are from the top flight as well. Slovako from the top flight. You all see this, or you generally see this, the odds-on favourites being away from home in European Cup competitions. It's going to take a back seat, this match. Liquidity is likely to be an issue, but we'll see whether the short odds translate into goals before half-time. Be interesting. Because I think we're getting to some kind of a framework for an over 2.5 goal or over 1.5 goal play. Just got to figure out the staking. And you've also got to figure out what you're going to do when it doesn't go your way. More fun from the Cup should help us in our quest. Top flight sides away from home, as I've said, vast majority of odds-ons being away from home. They tend to put the big guns on the road in the cup. So we've got plenty of ammunition here to try and solve or play with the overs markets. The markets is already telling you I expect 3 goals here. I expect 3 goals here. I expect 3 goals at least here. That's what the market's telling you. And Man City, you saw yesterday, getting 2 goals before half-time, 1.13. Liverpool West Ham going to be a fascinating fixture. This could be an interesting one for Lopetegui. Psychologically, he's going to have to get a win under his belt to assuage those who love bubbles. Because it's not quite firing yet. Arguably playing Man City and Chelsea, and then a London derby in the middle is not a very strong fixture list. But then again, we had a London derby here, and we had the West Ham match here, so the Aston Villa match. It's not a very impressive start to the season for the Hamsters. Psychologically, if Liverpool field a weakened side, that would be the only real way I think that West Ham can get something out of it. Could be a redemption match for the Hammers. Got to get a win under the new manager because they're conceding heavily of late. The Greek Cup, so it's Cup week really. Once you've got European action, Athens, Kalathea, don't know them very well. Volos, I think from the top flight, and again Aris Thessaloniki from the top flight. Let's look at the relationship between the odds and goals. So I'll do the 2.5 goal a bit later on for you. If you've got any ideas about how do we manage an over 2.5 goal play when no goals are coming in, let me know. The Dutch Cup again, there's no big guns out today. That's the amateur Ajax side, not the Ajax side. Norwegian Obosligaen, going to get short shrift from me. Apart from Moss, 1.45 at home. We saw Metz yesterday against Martigues. Similar odds. Emphatic win against the newly promoted Martigues in the French Ligue 2. Polish Cup, any of the big guns out today? I can't see them. Lots of really good candidates if you play Scrabble. Starochovice would win you a couple of quid. And Siarka, Tana Brzeg, that Z should win you a few points on Scrabble. But apart from that, Arca Gdynia from the first division. Racal, champions a couple of seasons ago. Just catch the eye. But again, in the cup, you're going to have to treat it very warily, as I did with Aston Villa, and I shouldn't have done really. Should have gone first half goals or second half over 2.5 goals. But I only went over 1, but still made a profit. It's all about trading, isn't it? Copa Federación in Spain, it's all a load of lower tier teams. The Allsvenskan, Djurgården, odds on at home. Mjällby, odds on at home. Did just get a cautionary look with the in-play stats. Djurgården, I do like when odds on and at home. They could deliver. From an over 2.5 goal perspective today, it's very difficult to look at over 2.5 goals in the Europa League, isn't it? Apart from the likes of Aston Villa with that reputation. And with that in mind, it depends on the quality of the side Manchester United put out. That would be my first potential over 2.5 goal point today. AZ Alkmaar, as ever, a Dutch side in this competition, could ignite. So watch out for the in-play stats with AZ. And if they're showing well early on, and it's 0-0 after 15 minutes, you might want to have a tinkle. Barcelona, over 2.5 goals should come in with ease. I'm expecting them as well to get a goal before half-time. So you might want to entertain first half goals 1.5, first half goals 2.5. If you can get evens about 1.5, that's a great start. Don't forget with the 1.5 plays, 1 goal pretty much seals it for you, seals the trade, as long as it's not scored very, very, very late on. It has to be scored in a time period which allows the market to think that that second goal will come as well. So I'll see Telegrammers a bit later on. It could be a quiet night. I think I made the right decisions yesterday. Had a couple of big plays. I think one of them was Gillingham. So keep your liability low. You're playing in the cup and you're trusting a side like Gillingham to come back. 1.67, that's what tempted me in. As did the entry point. Very, very low. Crystal Palace, Gillingham could have backed at 20s plus. So that's how I would play that. And I did that on a couple of occasions yesterday. and we didn't get a sniff. But liability, ultra low, not to worry. So I'll see you throughout the day today. It might be another frustrating evening. I can't give you any overs picks in Europe because we don't have that backbone to work off. We just have the reputation of the teams. But I'll do that a bit later on. I thought it worked very well. If you've got any ideas how we deal when we've backed over 2.5 goals, how we deal with 0-0s, let me know. Do we get out at a specific time period? Do we say give it an hour? Do we delay as long as possible? I don't know. If you've got any answers, let me know. Have a great day, and I'll see you telegrams throughout the afternoon if there is a play.